Thank you for joining the Tampa Bay IIBA chapter tonight for our BA Masterclass. Today is July 2nd, 2026, and I'm very sad to say that Pete is not going to be able to be here tonight for you. And so we shuffled around a bit, and I'm bringing you what you know isn't the whole story, and it's pretty cool. I want you to participate in this. So, who am I? My name is Thea Soehren. I'm the president of this chapter. I've been doing this for a few years now. I've done a lot of stuff, but really all it comes down to is I'm here to help you, but you got to reach out to me so that I can help you. LinkedIn is the fastest and best way to reach us. For those of you who are new to the IIBA, many of us work as business analysts every day, but not everyone knows that there's a global organization dedicated to advancing our profession. That organization is the International Institute of Business Analysis, or the IIBA. The IIBA is a global standard-setting body for business analysts supporting a community of over 30,000 professionals across 120 IIBA chapters worldwide. The certifications many of you may already recognize or are working toward are grounded in the BABOK Guide, an internationally adopted framework that defines best practices for our work. And there are additional 4 certifications for specialty areas. At its core, the IIBA exists to elevate the impact of business analysts, helping us make better decisions, deliver better outcomes, and ultimately make the world better, one business, one project, and one person at a time. What are the benefits of joining the IIBA? You get access to training provided by chapters across the globe. You get complimentary access to over 25,000 outstanding books, including the BABOK, along with webinars and additional resources, and you get discounts on certification exams. Additionally, IIBA chapters are in major cities around the world. If there is not an active chapter near you, we can talk about you starting a new chapter, or you're welcome to the Tampa Bay IIBA. Members of the Tampa Bay, Florida chapter are not restricted to residents of Florida. In fact, we have participants literally all around the globe. So if you do not have an IIBA chapter, Tampa Bay can be your chapter. Our vision here at Tampa Bay IIBA is building a thriving community of empowered business analysts. So why would you choose to join the Tampa Bay chapter? We offer multiple training sessions each week, including CBAP prep, coaching, and an acclaimed SDLC workshop, among other things. You can view our upcoming events at our website, and the updates are posted across LinkedIn and Facebook. At the end of 2025, we had presented well over 300 events since 2021, and here in our BA master classes and organizations around the world. Those events are available on YouTube, but that's a lot. So look at this index of those recordings. Go to Bob's amazing index at rpchurchill.com. Thanks to Bob Churchill, we have hundreds of events out there, and he has it set up by speaker, by date, and by topic. Thanks, Bob. As a result of putting on all those trainings and mentoring hundreds of individuals, the Tampa Bay chapter was awarded the Global IIBA's Award for Professional Development Excellence. And I want to introduce you to our esteemed board. I'm so very proud of the efforts of each one. We currently have 2 CBAP training classes underway, one on Thursday nights right after this meeting, and then one on Saturday mornings for our more international audience. As a result of all of this training that we've been doing, these students have reached out to tell us that our training and mentoring was a big part of the success in achieving their certification. Many on this list are past participants of our CBAP study group. Several studied along with us using only our YouTube videos. Of these 32, a good number have gone on to lead IIBA chapters and other organizations here and around the world because we make leaders here. The Tampa Bay IIBA chapter is proud of the first IIBA chapter to sponsor a book to benefit the global BA audience. Business Analysis, Bridging the Gap Across Industries, Volume 2, 12 More Industries, has now joined Volume 1 on Amazon. You can check out these 12 industries covered by each and decide in which you want to learn how to be a business analyst. Thank you to the authors who contributed their experience to benefit us all. I want to also take a moment to appreciate all of our partners, but our number one partner group is you, IIBA chapters, and those who participate with our chapter. We're partnered with over a dozen other IIBA chapters worldwide. We're mentoring 4 chapters that are just forming. We partnered with the Doback Group based in the UK and these in the Tampa Bay area. And we've successfully partnered with several recruiting services and training companies. Our goal, as always, is to elevate you, our BA community. We've partnered with Purdue University's virtual AI master's program. And a result of all these partnerships gives you discounts and special events to our participants. Watermark Learning offers you a 40% discount using this code, Tampa21. That means you can get unlimited access for a time period to more than 1,200 CBAP practice test questions with this 40% discount. This is the tool that I use for the CBAP training classes that I teach, and many of my students have expressed how effective these tools are for them to get prepared. Adaptive US, who specializes only in business analysis, has over 90 free items on their website. They offer our participants a 20% discount on all live classes and on-demand courses, excluding the IIBA exam vouchers. Adaptive has an impressive guarantee. If you take a certification course from them, you take the test, and you don't pass it, they will pay for you to retake it twice. That's standing behind their training. Now it's time to grab your calendars. Next week, ADWA is going to bring us From Hidden Workflow Dependencies to Scalable Automation, a business analysis case study. The week after, George is going to bring us Business Data Analytics and AI, from Insights to Intelligent Decision Making. The Saturday after that, in Florida, Durand Park, wear your closed-toed shoes, bring your kids in comfortable clothing and your gloves. We'll provide trash bags. We are going to get together and clean up this park. It's typically not very dirty, but having it pristine is a nice thing, and we can bring that to that community. Again, we do welcome even your littlest ones. Cliff is going to be there with his trash bags. He'll probably bring his pokey sticks, and then afterwards, if y'all all want to, y'all can go out to eat together. The following Thursday, July 23rd, Shane McDougall is going to bring us Frugal Founders, how to launch and validate without going broke. So many organizations are founding right now. This is gold information. The following week, July 30th, Shanna Fillmore, our very own, is bringing us Beyond Writing Requirements, the Real Value of Business Analysis. Shanna's just put out a book, too. I'm hoping she'll tell us a little bit about that. The following week, we have a treat for you. I'm sorry, have I got my dates mixed up? No, I don't. Noon. This is a noon meeting, not something we've done very often, but we have the opportunity to have Russell Mears, who's one of our global board of directors of the IIBA, join us. He's going to explore how organizations use measurement systems, KPI, and reporting structures to create the appearance of control, sometimes at the expense of reality itself. Russell gave this talk at the recent BBC, and I heard so many good things about it. I reached out to him and I said, hey, come tell us what you told everybody else, because we want to know. That evening, we have our very first SDLC simulation prep course. I have my things in wrong order. This should be a 1. This is the first of 2 classes that we're going to be teaching. This is going to talk about the responsibilities and roles of the project manager, the product owner, and the business analyst, what their goals are, what their deliverables are, how they work through SDLC. Then we're going to take a week off and have a very special panel of 5 North American recruiters. They're going to come together to talk about things like, what skills do I need in 6 months? What are you seeing on the horizon? How do I position myself to be eminently hireable? What mistakes do you see business analysts making? I'm really excited because these are guys with boots on the ground. I mean, they're from all over the nation, and they're going to help us know better and do better. Then the week after that, we have the second SDLC simulation meeting. These 2 simulation meetings, incidentally, are prerequisites for our simulation workshop, our SDLC simulation workshop that's coming up. This one, we're going to be talking about UI UX, developers and testers. What are their roles, goals, and deliverables? So I encourage you to participate. We have all of this on our website. You can go to tampabay.iiba.org and get more information. We also post it on our LinkedIn group, and we have it on YouTube. And if you want to see recordings of any of that, you can go to the Fantastic Index at RP Churchill. He also has links to all of this in his website. So now for our presentation, I'm going to switch screens here and show you a few things. Okay. So I'm going to ask that everybody turn off your camera this time. I want you to turn your camera back on in just a minute. But for right now, turn off your camera and you're on mute. And I'm going to ask you to watch this video and then we're going to come back and talk about it. Okay? So I've got a few videos here. Let's start with the first one. Okay, follow these instructions.
Times the players wearing white pass the basketball. How many passes did you count? Correct answer is 15 passes. But did you notice the gorilla? There was a gorilla. But did you notice the clown? There was a clown. He killed a guy.
Okay, I
Did
think
you
that
notice the
part was
player
not.
committing a blatant traveling violation?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble stopping this.
She clearly traveled. Traveling violation?
Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm going to ask you to come on camera and come and be ready to talk about this for just a second. Thank you for coming on camera, for those of you who are brave. How many of y'all have seen the gorilla? Have you seen this video before?
I have seen that one. Oh, I didn't know if your hand raised.
Yes, go ahead, talk.
Oh,
Uh,
I was just saying it was funny. I've seen that before, and I was looking for the gorilla, and I totally forgot about the clown. Just shows like the multi dimensions in this. It's funny.
It is. So this is one way that you get into the idea that we see what we're looking for and we don't see what else is there. And this really calls into mind for me that I see what I'm looking for and I don't see that, and then other people do too. So whenever your stakeholders, they seem myopic to you, I mean, they're only seeing what they're looking for and they don't read the rest of the document you sent or whatever. You kind of understand when stuff like this happens. Okay, so let's look at something else. I don't know why I couldn't stop this while ago, so I'm going to just put another one over this. Okay, let's watch this one.
Today we're going to play a game specifically designed to test your spatial awareness. Meet the Brain Games Double Dutch team. Now,
Those
what does
people.
jumping rope have to do with the brain? Well, double Dutch requires off-the-chart spatial awareness. Today, these kids are going to help us test yours. For this game, all you have to do is keep track of the number of times that either of the girls in green jumps. You'll count each time one of them lands a jump, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you can see, these jumpers are pretty quick on their feet, so you're going to have to pay attention to keep up. When the whistle blows, start counting. Ready? Go. So, how many jumps did the green team make? Did you say 38? If so, you agree with 40% of our test audience. Now, some of you may be onto us, but for those of you who aren't, did you happen to notice anything else going on during the double dutch? Maybe a giant chicken strolling right through the middle of the set and doing a funky chicken dance? Now, some of you may have missed that funky chicken, but many of you probably saw it. And that's okay, because the chicken was just there to distract you too. Here's the real question. What color was the wall behind the double dutch game? Here's a hint. It wasn't the same color at the end as it was when they started jumping. The back wall was changing color the entire time, from bright blue to bright red. Nearly everyone misses it. But why? It turns out there's far too much information coming in through the eyes at any given moment for the brain to fully process all of it. As a result, the brain has to act like a spotlight, focusing our attention on some parts of the scene but not others. Now, most of you were probably paying attention to the jumpers, and some of you may have suspected that something strange was going to happen, and so you saw the chicken. But you probably weren't paying attention to the back wall. And what we don't pay attention to, we don't see. And hey, for those of you who managed to catch everything so far, did you notice that we also swapped the rope turners out halfway through? Gotcha.
So, okay. I don't know why I can't. Oh, okay. Okay. So, come on camera. Let's talk about that one. How many of you saw the chicken? Yeah? You saw the chicken? The funky chicken. Yeah, okay. Cool. Will, did you see the chicken?
I did spot the chicken, but I didn't spot the colors.
And it was like, how many things can we pay attention to, right? So as we're creating things for our users, like we're creating a workshop or we're creating a meeting even, we've got to think about how many things are we asking them to pay attention to. Stephen, did you spot the chicken?
No, I did not.
That's okay. We're not all supposed to do it. Yes, Carol.
One technique I have learned
Mm-hmm.
for getting attention is to start a sentence and stop and be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And then people say, okay, what did I miss? And then you can go on.
Right? It's really important also, especially if you have people that you may be losing their focus, they're not making eye contact anymore, that you start the sentence with their name before you ask them the question. Because if you do it the other
Bingo.
way around,
They're gone.
I don't know how many people, professionals, I have heard say, I'm sorry, I was multitasking. And it's like, I thought you were in the meeting with us, right? No, they weren't, because they didn't think their attention was needed for this particular portion of the evening's entertainment. So you have to say things like, Cliff, if you don't mind, if to do this and this, or Will, have you talked to your dad lately? Just start with their name and maybe even give them a pause to go, oh, wait, what? And then they can be engaged and focused. I'm I'm going to tell y'all a quick story. I had a gentleman that he kept falling asleep in my meetings. He was the developer, the one that's supposed to be there to tell us if what we were asking was even doable, right? And he would sit there like this, and I think I must have really calm voice because he would sit there and just fall asleep. And so I started saying, Brad, what do you think about that? And he looked up at me one time and he said, why do you always start sentences with Brad, what do you think? Because that was the only thing he heard. He didn't hear anything before that. He heard, Brad, what do you think? So I gave him silly putty, and he was able to stay awake during our meetings. We were in person then. But,
You need to get him a fidget spinner.
they didn't have them back then, back in the olden days. So you got to give people a way to focus on what you need them to focus on. And if you can set expectations at the beginning of the meeting as to by the end of the meeting, we will do this. And, Cliff, your opinion on this is critical for us to make a good decision. So that gets them knowing that they've got some skin in the game, right?
Mhm.
Okay. I got another video for you. Let's see what we can do here. Okay.
Watch this short film and try to spot the change. Only one thing will change. Did you see it? Few people notice it, even though it happened in plain sight. Here's what changed. We think changes draw attention, but we don't realize how much we can miss. We're blind to our own change blindness. Now that you know what's changing, you can actually see the change happening. It just doesn't draw your attention automatically. Watch it again.
This is exactly the same video we saw the first time.
Our overconfidence that we will notice such changes reflects an everyday illusion, the illusion of attention. Check out the book, The Invisible Gorilla, to learn more. www.theinvisiblegorilla.com.
The Invisible Gorilla, the guy that wrote that book, is the author of all these videos. And so his purpose is to say, are you paying attention? Because you don't see what you think you see. One of the things that he has said in some of his TED Talks is this: if you have a clear memory of something, if you can repeat it, if you can see it happening, you believe that it's the truth, but it probably isn't. His recollection of what happened on September 11th. He said, I know who was in the room with me. I know where I was sitting. I know all this stuff. And he said, I went back and verified. I didn't have the right people in the room with me. I mean, my memory is very clear, but you have this belief that I remember this happening, and you're adamant that this is what happened because it's such a clear memory. But the problem is if you have a faulty memory and it's clear, other people probably do too. And that's when we get into those arguments of, no, that's not what happened, or that's not what you said. I put that there. Well, I moved it since then. I just didn't update those tapes. So because you have a clear memory of something, if you don't have proof that it's true, you have to really ask yourself, is it really what happened? Also, our assumption of what happened becomes memory too. If we assume, I'm going to say Stephen was mad at me and that's why he didn't sign up for this round of classes, right? Well, I jumped to a conclusion based upon whatever history I have. Stephen didn't sign up for this because he had another class to go to, or Stephen didn't sign up for this because he didn't see the announcement, or there could be a million other reasons. But if I react based upon my assumption, that became truth to me, I'm not being fair. I'm not living in reality. I'm living in my own little fantasy world that I created, but I have a clear recollection of it. Okay, let's watch another one. you might want to pay real close attention to this one. See, I want to be sure the sound's up all the way.
Watch this brief video of a conversation, and then I'll ask you some questions about it.
Hi, Sabina. Hi. It's been a long time since I've seen you. Yeah, it's great to see you, Andrea. So how did you get here? I took the subway from Middleton, and it took only about half an hour. Really? I drove from Gresham, and it took 45 minutes. Hooray for public transportation. So why did you call me here for this mysterious meeting? I'm planning a surprise party for Jerome, and I need your help to keep him away from the house. That's great. I'll do anything you need. Good. I hate surprise parties, but only when I'm the victim. Otherwise, they're great. Very good.
Other than the strange dialogue about a surprise party, did you notice anything unusual? In our book, The Invisible Gorilla and Other Ways Our Intuitions Deceive Us, we discuss the illusion of memory. We think we perceive and remember more of our world than we actually do. The movie you just watched had 9 intentional editing mistakes. Did you spot any of them? Watch it again. Notice that the woman on the right, Sabrina, is wearing a scarf. In a moment, we'll have a close-up and the scarf will be gone. Notice the scarf is gone and Andrea, the woman on the left, has her arm on the table. Now it's at her chin. Scarf is back. Notice that the plates are red. Now they're white and Andrea's arm is back on the table. Now they're red and Sabrina's arm is off of the table. Notice that the food is in front of Sabrina. Now it's in front of Andrea. The cups and the spoon have also switched places, and Sabrina's arm is on the table when it wasn't before. Most people don't notice any of the changes, a phenomenon known as change blindness. But most people are confident that they would notice the changes. That is the illusion of memory. Check out our book, The Invisible Gorilla, to learn more. www.theinvisiblegorilla.com.
Okay. Did y'all notice any of those changes? I mean, there was 9 of them, right?
Yep, I saw the
Scarves gone?
scarf. I saw the scarf. I didn't register the moves, the physical moves as
Mhm.
changes, probably because we see them all the time with the editing of anything we watch video. You know, you switch perspective and you don't expect the people to be in the same
Right.
setting. But no, I didn't notice the plates. I didn't notice the food moving.
I guess this is why, like during meetings, you really need to have someone taking good notes. So when you have discussions with stakeholders, we don't assume what somebody said or did, or who's
Mhm.
responsible for what.
Yeah.
Or have
Yeah.
somebody watching the room as well as somebody taking the notes, because there's so much nonverbal communication going on. We
Right.
focus on what we're hearing because that's where we expect to find the information. But that's only 40% of the information. The other 60% is what people are doing.
Yes. Right. And as we talked about last week, what people are doing, if you are translating, that means that they're not paying attention, or that means they're not listening, or whatever. You could be absolutely wrong, but you need to be observant so you can ask the questions. One of the questions I really like to ask, if I think somebody's maybe beginning to disengage, whether I think it's because of they dislike what they're hearing, or they're bored, or whatever, I'll say, does anyone have any input that they'd like to provide at this time? You know, any thing to contribute that we haven't already covered? Is there anything else we need to all be thinking about? Just open up the room. And sometimes people are like, well, that's what I've been waiting for. Y'all, you just kept talking and didn't give me a chance. And so I was sitting back disengaging, but you can open it up. I've gone as far, if I have good relationships with people, to say, hey, Pete, you look like you're maybe a little bored. Is there something we haven't covered? Just, it depends on the environment. You don't do that if his boss is sitting there, right? You have to
Unless you've
have
checked with him first.
Well, that's true. That's true. I've
sometimes you can plant them in the audience.
I've had
Seriously.
bosses. I agree. I've had managers come to me and go, I don't know what to do to get them to engage. And it's like, can I have your permission? You know, can I have the authority to engage them a little more forcefully? And it's like, oh yeah, do whatever it takes because I'm ready to fire them, you know, and it's like, okay, we'll get them engaged. I don't want them to get fired if we can get them, you know, recalibrated. What do y'all think of what we watched so far? Do you see that maybe you aren't paying attention? And if you're not paying attention and seeing everything, you are paying attention. I'm saying that badly. You are paying attention, but you're not seeing everything. That means that all of your stakeholders, even if they are paying attention, they're not seeing everything. So they're working on the limited amount of information that they have, just like we are. No wonder projects are hard. No wonder communication is hard, right? Okay, I got another one for you here. This one is hilarious. It looks like practical joke, but it's for real. Watch what happens.
This video shows a participant from a 1998 study by Daniel Simons and Daniel Levin. Watch what happens as the unsuspecting pedestrian provides directions. The young man on the left is one of the experimenters. He has approached the white-haired man and asked for directions. Watch closely as two people carrying a door pass between them, and the first experimenter is replaced by someone else. Like many of the people in this study, the pedestrian was entirely unaware that he was talking to a different person. Approximately 50% of the people approached in this study didn't notice when the person they were talking to was replaced by someone else. This study was among the first to demonstrate that change blindness can occur outside of the laboratory. This video is from research by Daniel Simons and Daniel Levin and is copyrighted. It is available for use in talks, training, and teaching on DVDs from...
Okay. So he was providing information to somebody and that person changed, but he was so focused on what he was doing that he wasn't checking on the person. There's another
Guilty.
study. Yes, go ahead.
No,
Have
I'm
you done that?
guilty. Oh, come on. Teaching? You're
I
so
know.
worried about communicating what you have to get through
Mhm.
that you lose track of the students. You lose
It's
track
true.
of the audience.
Yeah, it's true. There is another study that they did that had a series of photographs and they would say, you know, I've got these two pictures of these two individuals, which one is more attractive? And then they would give them the one that was more attractive and ask them to explain why they were more attractive. You know, I like brown hair, or, you know, pretty eyes, I don't know, whatever they chose. And so they would do that for a series of like four people, four selections. And then on the fifth one, they would, for instance, choose the person on the photograph on the right, and by sleight of hand, they would hand them the photograph of the person on the left. And they would take that and not realize that that wasn't the person that they chose because they were so focused on what they thought was attractive. And they would use those same terms to describe this picture that was not the picture that they chose. You know, brown hair. They actually had somebody say, I like brunettes, and there was a blonde person in the photograph. But they were so focused on their own reasoning and what they had already perceived as what they were going to see, they didn't see what was right in their hand. Isn't that amazing? It makes us really pay attention to what it is we're conveying. And Carol, I want to point out something you said. One of the things that makes teaching and speaking a lot easier is if you're very focused on what you're providing to the audience. And you know, stop to think about, oh no, they're going to think that I'm not smart, or they're going to criticize me whenever I stumble in my words because I'm going to stumble. You don't get to think that because you're so focused on conveying information. So if any of y'all have any challenges with public speaking, use that technique because it's been very successful.
A quick question.
Yes?
And I loved the videos, but even I loved more the conversation that happened. And the point that Carol, you pointed out, whether it is in a class setting or during the meetings. So reading the nonverbal and body languages, or to make it even more generic, reading the room and feeling the room sounds really great. But that's a little bit more challenging through the virtual meetings that we have nowadays, especially, if it is with the closed videos and cameras that it is right now for most of the participants, including myself. Do you have any tip to you, Carol, or anyone else who have any tip, tricks?
Thea, should I invoke the radio DJ?
Well, I tell you what, let's let Alicia go first because she did raise her hand.
Absolutely, yes.
Alicia, what do you use?
Yeah, for the whole camera thing, because I'm one of those people that don't necessarily like cameras. But I also work with a lot of developers that don't like cameras either. And so that's one of those things where you have to build relationships before you are virtual, if you can do so. So that way you can kind of pick up on silence if there's actually something wrong, or like tone of voice, changes in tone of voice. If you haven't seen those people before in like real life, I would say, and working in a virtual setting where cameras are off, it's one of those things where you're going to hold people accountable and call out people if they don't want to have their cameras on, and listen to the verbal cues. And you have to really listen to tone changes in voices. I like to do round robin, essentially, to make sure that I get everybody's input.
That's a good method.
Thank you.
Okay, Carol, invoke.
Okay. Well, part of it, rule number one, as a radio DJ or anyone who is presenting and you can't see the audience and they can't see you, put a smile in your voice, please.
Yeah.
That is one of the most effective ways of communicating. A couple of other pieces, even if you are a gentleman and you speak in the bass register, drop the pitch of your voice by half an octave, by an octave, because it slows you down to the point where you enunciate clearly. A lot of problems, a lot of the communication falls apart if you cannot be understood. Now, give you a little bit of the reality here, because I've been DJing so long that this is normal. This is my normal DJ voice. This is what I sound like when I'm speaking normally and not having a headset on. It's hard for me to break that topic because I'm just so used to it. The headset's on, boom. Drop the voice by half an octave. You enunciate, you slow down just enough to make a difference. And it's amazing to do that. But Alicia nailed it. Find ways to pull people into the conversation. Find ways to, okay, Thea, you're great at it. Raise your hand if you agree, or show me a thumbs up. Give me a reaction that says that you are participating. And that helps to find out, is someone distracted? Is someone contemplating a consequence? So Alicia's got her hand back up again. Please do.
Yeah, you brought up a good point about raising hands and things like that. And that's one of the things that I like to do if I'm presenting and I don't really get engagement from whatever stakeholder audience. I'll just say, give me a thumbs up, and I'll pause until I see everybody's reaction. And if I don't see a reaction from someone, I'll call them out. And then if they do it again, then I'll call them out again. And usually after the second call out, people actively participate with at least using the reactions in whatever platform. And again, depending on the audience, because you may or may not want to do this with the type of executives that you may encounter, use GIFs. I know in my last organization before last, we all loved GIFs. And so that's a great way to express emotion through without even using any words. It's just facial expressions. Like they have really cute ones. But it helps convey, feelings, and it's effective. But I wouldn't use that as a first thing because you may not be taken seriously. So it really just depends on the audience and the relationship that you have, whether or not I would use gifts. But reactions and pausing for people to respond is very effective.
Let me clarify. Alicia just said gifts, and if you don't know what she's talking about, it sounds like she's meaning presents or gifts. That's not what she means. She means the little symbols that you can use. I just dropped one into the chat, and it's
Animated
yeah,
pictures. Yeah.
yep. They're little pictures. They can be animated, they can be still. They typically symbolize a feeling. I like to use fire because fire is like most people understand. If you say something is fire, it means it's really a great topic, smart on top of it, things like that. Let me go back to something Carol said also. Whenever we're talking to individuals and we're not getting instant reactions, be sensitive to if you're talking to introverts or extroverts. If you're talking to introverts, you're not going to get fast reactions. And if you're demanding fast reactions, you're going to get them to give you an answer, but they haven't thought it through yet. So you can say, for instance, my friend Steven is a wonderful introvert. He thinks deeply, he comes up with brilliant ideas, but I cannot demand that I give him an idea, give him a challenge, and he comes up with a brilliant idea immediately. It doesn't work that way. So I can say something like, "Hey, Stephen, would you get back to me, say tomorrow, and give me your thoughts on this?" Does that work for you, Stephen? Yeah? Okay. So that's something you just need to be aware of. Okay, I've got one more video here. Y'all ready for this one? We are going to make it full size. Here we go.
This is the shell game. I'm going to hide this Hershey's Kiss under this cup, and the object is for you to pay attention and follow along and try to guess which cup the Hershey's Kiss is under at the end. Try to guess if it's in the left cup, the middle cup, or the right cup.
Middle.
Right.
Let's check the left cup. The middle cup? If you guess the middle cup, you got it right. So now we're going to make it a little more complicated. I've added an extra pair of hands and I've added additional colors here. But that's only to distract you from the pink cups. The pink cups will always have, one of the pink cups will always have the Hershey Kiss underneath. So let's get started. So can you guess where the Hershey Kiss is?
Lower left.
Lower left.
How many of you are right? Yeah, good. But did you see the duck?
That's the problem. You focus so much on where that thing's going, you don't see anything else.
That's right. So did you see the fifth hand? It
Of course not.
was like, what? Did you happen to notice there were blue cups at the beginning, but green cups at the end?
I knew something was different, but I didn't pull the color.
Right, right. It's like, well, those are other colors.
Right again. You're so good at this. Yeah, but okay. So did you see any ducks in that video? No.
Okay, we don't need to watch them do that. So what my challenge is to you is as you create your meetings, as you create your interactions with stakeholders, even your family, think about what is it they're paying attention to and what is it they're not seeing, because we can't expect them to see everything. It's not humanly possible. And you might do a verbal check-in with them as to what they understood. You know, it's one of those active listening things. It's like I tell Carol I'm going to go to the store and buy milk, and she says, I understand you're going to go to the store and get milk. You know, so that way I know she heard me and I know we're both on the same page. I didn't tell her which store I'm going to. I didn't tell her what kind of milk I'm getting. If she has questions, she has the ability to ask questions. But I know because she responded back to me that we're on the same page. Do the same thing with your stakeholders, with your family, with your boss. You know, your boss says, "Hey, your employee review is coming up next week." Say, "Okay, I'll be ready for my employee review. Is there anything you need me to bring?" You know, it's like you can lean in just a little bit and talk about what invest in that conversation, not just parrot it back to them. Okay. So did y'all enjoy this?
Yeah, this was
So I'm
good.
gonna, isn't it fun? Oh, one of the things, let me see if I can, I don't remember the gentleman's name now. This gentleman, he wrote the gorilla book. He's written a lot of stuff, but he's done these videos and he does a lot of speaking. He has a TEDx talk, and one of the things he talks about, since we have a few minutes, I'm going to tell you. He starts out with a poem by Elizabeth Barrett Brown that she wrote to her husband while they were engaged, and it's a very famous poem. And she said that, I'm sorry, he said that between the time she wrote the poem and the time her book was published, the book that had the poem in it that became so famous, there was another pamphlet that was written of like just a couple of her poems put together. And this one man discovered it, and all of the experts at the time were just amazed because he was like the most famous antiques collector. And they were just so excited that they found this. He did this thing where he discovered all these people's works that nobody else had found. Well, they found out later that everyone had just given him credit for it because they believed it was true. It was false. He was forging it all. And he became, instead of the most famous antiques dealer and collector, he became the most famous antiques forger because people assumed that what they were seeing was true and they didn't check it. As business analysts, it's our job to check things, not because we think people are being dishonest, but because it's our job to verify. You know, people may not have dishonest intentions, but they may have, they may be going too fast. They may not have gotten all of the data. They may not have gotten it from the best source. You know, it's our job to just double check things to be sure that what we're seeing, what is being presented as truth in front of us, is actually truth. And there's some grace that we can give to people because, for instance, my husband's having spine surgery next week. I can guarantee that my brain is not going to be here by Thursday. And I'm probably going to make some mistakes between now and then. So, give people some grace. Just because they present it doesn't mean it's true, but it doesn't mean they're being dishonest. We have a few minutes left. Does anybody have anything you want to bring to us either on what we talked about or challenges that you have that we can help you with?
I was just curious about like in this virtual setting that we have, in work settings where we have meetings, is there
Mm-hmm.
ever appropriate to require people to have their camera on? Because I noticed like in certain meetings when even if myself, when I turn off the camera, there's too much temptation for me to go and do something else instead of focusing on what's going on in the meeting. So I'm just curious in your experience, like, is it ever appropriate for certain meetings when it's really important that everybody really lock in and pay attention, requiring everyone involved to actually have their camera on?
Hmm. I,
You got an
I'll
idea
kind
about
of
that?
say something. Yeah, the first step, especially if it's a reoccurring meeting, is to turn on your own camera. I've got a lot of people that are like, "Oh, I can't see you," but they don't turn on their camera. It's very much, well, don't do what I say what I do kind of thing. At least for the first couple of meetings, you start showing up and you always have your camera on. I've noticed that now a lot of the other people in that meeting now turn on their cameras just because I always had mine on. So it kind of gets it started, but it is hard. A lot of people
It is
don't like it.
I agree.
Is
Yeah, it
Go
definitely
ahead,
don't
Jeff.
stand. I might wear a golf shirt, nice shirt, and everything else, but I got shorts on 24/7. I'm in Florida, so don't get up while the camera's on. Um,
that's true.
Alicia.
Yeah, I agree with Cliff on that one. It's something else that I do depending on the form. I can put my hand down now. I read the room, so if it's super duper high ranking people in the room, I always have my camera on just as a rule of thumbs. If I'm facilitating a training session where people need to pay attention, I will just give a disclaimer before the meeting starts, and I will put something in the meeting invite to say that cameras are required for the meeting. And if there's a problem with it, then I'll just escalate it. But that's one way to make sure that people at least have their cameras on. That's not going to say they're going to pay attention. But that's one way to enforce cameras if you need them.
And
Right.
adding to that, uh, I mean, it is always great, but building a culture that everyone come on the camera, but still, I believe it is not going to solve the problem fundamentally. What I'm trying to say, and I'm borrowing from the previous conversation, even if they are in person with you, they might, their mind might get hijacked. Personally, it happens to me. I can be there with you. I can might have even eye contact, but still, if you're not using those tips and tricks to get the stakeholder engaged, despite having them on camera or even in person with you, they can be lost. They can be there with you physically, but mentally somewhere else. So I love the previous conversation even more, how to have them, engaged.
One
Thanks.
thing that I've discovered, Stephen, is whenever people are on camera, they can be on camera and zoned out. And so I've just decided interaction is the way to do it. Ask questions, say, Bob, does this follow up with the conversation we had last week? Did I cover everything? Give them responsibilities verbally during the meeting. And so for whenever I have people talking at me and not talking to me, I do tend to zone out. It's like, oh, I'll check my email while she's rambling, because she doesn't need my interaction. She's not needing me in the meeting anymore. She's just talking. And I mean, that's not really the way it is, but that's the way it feels. So whenever I'm running a meeting or, even meeting with someone one on one, I will be sure it's a conversation and not me talking at them. And the company I work for has a rule that cameras are required during meetings. And they'll say in really big meetings, they'll say y'all can do cameras off for this meeting just because of bandwidth. At least that's their excuse. But we keep our cameras on, and as BAs, our department requires us to have cameras on anytime we're in a meeting. So that's the expectation is set at the company level. It depends on your culture. Does that answer your question? Does it give you some good
Yeah,
ideas?
yeah. I just remember like when we did the Unleash conference, like you were presenting, and it was so funny. Like near the end, you're like, guys, can you turn your cameras? I'm looking at a bunch of words right now. Just having that eye contact and that human, because everybody had their cameras off, and it's
Mm-hmm.
something about that human connection I think we lose with all this technology. It's convenient, but I was just
It
curious.
is.
There's a balance between the two. You want to protect people's privacy and so forth, but at the same,
Right.
something about having that eye contact and that human connection.
I agree. I have one study group that I teach that several people, they don't even have cameras. And so the entire study group for the entire hour and a half, I'm the only one on camera all by myself. And it's like, I just want to turn it off, but then it would be nobody, and part of communicating is our facial expressions and our, gestures and am I leaning forward? Am I leaning back? All that stuff. So part of me teaching is you got to see me too, but I want to see you. So thank you for turning your camera on that day. It was a long time of just talking at the screen. Okay, we are coming up to the end. Do we have any last questions?
Just a comment on there. This doesn't work for all
Yes.
meetings, but also the use, I think it's interesting meetings that use stuff like Miro, where you can actually see everybody's cursors or have like a collaborative software during the meeting.
Mm-hmm. That way you know that they're somewhat engaged at least, or they're moving their mouse around. But it's better than not, right? Dead fish versus flipping fish. We're good there. Okay, guys, I know that this was a kind of a different kind of meeting, but for what we had to fill in, I think we had some pretty good material here. You are welcome to go after this guy. I will put something on LinkedIn about his videos so that you can find them. Um, if you find something that's interesting that you think that our group would enjoy, please bring it to us. Either you can present it or you can give it to us and we'll present it. But y'all see wealth out there that I don't get to see. And so let's share it so that we can bring up the whole community, okay? All right. Guys, I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July. Those of you who are in the United States, those of you who aren't, you can just watch the fireworks and laugh at us. It's cool. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Have a great
Talk to you
holiday,
later.
everyone.
Bye.